Hey guys, Liru here. This is going to be a quick tutorial on how to spawn scripted units in mass, but there's some applications from the method I'm about to show you guys that work on other quote-unquote problems, and I'll get to those in a second, but let me describe what I'm talking about. So when I say a scripted unit, I'm talking about something from a custom mod. For example, we're going to be doing this tutorial with Web Knight Zombies. But this method can be done with almost any other scripted type of unit. So Devour's Necrophage is another good one. Web Knight's also been working on some custom Halo Hunters and Grunts, and I'm pretty sure this method's going to work with that as well. But let me show you the problem. So let's say you're a Zeus, and you know that if you make something in Eden Editor, unless you're using some heavy triggers and whatnot to cause these units to spawn when players enter a certain zone, which I personally don't do because that can be very tedious to make.
Ready for orders.
You spawn units around. Basically, when the player base is walking by a certain area, you'll put these units in one at a time, simply because that'll then activate the units and they'll start coming over and attacking. So let me use another zombie here. Let's do a
Ready
shambler.
for orders.
So shambler's gonna see me. I'm gonna shoot my gun at it, and that should get it to react, and it comes over. Now, if you just copy and paste this unit, some of the scripts might fire and you'll get the animations and whatnot, but if you shoot your gun, sometimes they'll come over to you, sometimes they won't. This is entirely dependent on, from what I've seen, the fact that I am in the Eden editor, basically running a server on my own box. If people were to connect to my computer because I'm hosting a server from it, you're not going to run into this issue. But for majority of players who are running things on a dedicated server, when they put units down like that, the units are simply going to hold in place and not move. They'll just kind of look in the direction, and they won't actually, do any of that custom movement or animation. So there is a way around this issue, and that is through utilizing custom composition groupings and spawning them in through this menu. Because what this does is it makes every individual unit load in as if you're basically making a group, and each unit will individually load and move on their own unit. And you're going to see me use this method for future operations going forward. Now, how to make these custom compositions is actually really, really simple. If we go into the Eden editor, all we got to do is put a few of these units down. We're going to go back into the Web Knight zombie mod. I'm going to take a few special infected. Now, when you spawn them in Eden, it shows them as a default unit because there's a custom texture or skeleton mesh that gets put over it, especially... Smasher's a good example, though, just to show something down. Let's say you wanted to spawn 2 of these godforsaken monstrosities at a time because you don't want them to load together. You can just group them up like that, but for scripted units like these, I like to keep them in individual groups. Just remember, when you have multiple individual groups with these symbols on them, the diamonds in this case because it's not for unit, they're going to take a lot more server resources, so use these with care. What you're going to simply then do is select them, right-click them, and then do Save Custom Composition, and then you can set a custom category to them. You can set a title, and then, put your name and the author or whatnot, but if I scroll down, I've already got a big group of these here for my little Last of Us campaign, so it'll let me spawn 2 exploders at a time, 3 of my quote-unquote clickers, or 5 runners or stalkers, instead of me having to do it one at a time. So every time I go back and forth on the menu, instead of spawning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can be doing 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Now, be really careful when you do that, because if you are going to spawn, let's say, 10 or 20 units at the same time, that is 10 or 20 units loading into your server at the same time, which can get very laggy very quickly. You can even desync your server if you spawn things too fast, which is why I only like to do them in smaller groups. And do it every, few moments. So, 5, then 10, then 15, then 20, and you're going to have to gauge your server performance based off of that. But let me get into another method on why that is a really cool function to do, because I was talking to someone who brought this issue up with me. Every time he was spawning in 8 or 10-man squad, just regular squads from a mod, he was having the server basically have about a second to half second of desync, because the server, I'm going to assume, wasn't as powerful as, someone else's virtual server or dedicated server, which, every server is different. Every server is more or less powerful, depending on the specs that are provided by that. But if you're noticing that you're putting down an 8-man squad, and then there's a half-second or a full-second delay, what I would recommend is basically spawning in a smaller group. And if you don't like the groups that it gives you, you can always go into the single-player category, and you can make your own group. So let's say I wanted to make a 7-man Russian squad because the 9-man squads that come with the mod lag my server a little bit. You know what? We'll do a 6-man. So I just want to make a simple rifle squad. So we'll put a junior sergeant. We'll do a rifleman, another type of rifleman with a grenade launcher. Give him some light AT with an RPG 26. Let's put an auto rifleman with him. And then, 2 additional riflemen here just with various things. And an AS Val, because screw it, why not? So that's 7, because I don't know how to count, but there we go. There's your 6. You select them all, right-click, save custom composition. I can put this in an RHS Op4 category, so I can just, search that by the category on the right, title it, and then I'll be able to pull those within my custom compositions tab when I Zeus. But anyway, guys, that is a simple way to just simply get around the issue of if you're spawning units in one at a time, and if you just do a simple copy paste or a deep copy paste, which is Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V, if they're not executing all their scripts properly, and just holding in place, or they just run up to the player base and don't do their attack animations because they're lacking the script. If you just spawn them in via the custom composition method, that's literally you spawning in all of those units as if you're doing it one at a time. So it's going to re-execute all of its scripts together, and you'll be able to get more in at once, and it's, just something nifty to know. Just remember, don't overdo it. Otherwise, you can basically kill your own server, cause desync issues and whatnot. Everything's a balance. Don't go overboard with the tool, but it's better than the general alternative. So anyway, that's a quick tutorial, guys. Thank you so much for listening, if indeed you still are. Go operate operationally. Enjoy the rest of your day or nights, and I hope you are enjoying the rest of your evening.